Hello students, today we are going to study the new approach, that is interpretative approach, and it is very interesting. Why it is very interesting? Because this approach is uh, introduces how sociologists study human behavior by digging into personal meanings rather than just counting numbers. Okay, so this approach is very interesting. Let's continue with our topic, that is interpretative approach. Before starting, let's see the objective of this particular unit. The objective is to understand the interpretative approach in social research and how it helps researchers explore people's meaning, experiences, and perspective. So by the end of this lesson, you are able to understand, you are able to explain the key features of the interpretative approach, and you are able to identify its importance and understanding social behavior. Now let's begin with our interpretative approach. So interpretative approach is nothing but it is giving more importance to the human behavior by digging out the personal meaning rather than just giving the importance to the number. Okay, just take an example to understand it. Like, think of it like the difference between looking at someone's daily phone screen time, okay, Scien- statistics versus actually reading their private daily journal. The statistics give you a raw data, but the journal tell you the real story behind it. Positivists treat humans like a robot who automatically react to rules and society. But interpretative argue that people are complex and see the world differently and do not act purely on the external forces. Because of this standard, statistics often miss the point. Now, for this, I'll give you an example. Like, if someone leaves a WhatsApp group chat, okay, so according to positivist approach or positivist researcher, they just simply going to count that how many members left the group. But here, interpretative researcher, they will ask why were they hurt, or they were busy, or why they left the group. Did they switch phones? So all these questions will arise, and the interpretative wants to know the personal reason behind this action. Now here in this slide, we are talking about worsting. Now let's see, the development of interpretative philosophy is just based on the critique of positivism in social sciences. And according to this philosophy, they emphasizing the qualitative analysis over the quantitative analysis. Interpretative argue that in order to understand the human action, we need to achieve the Western. Now, what is mean by Western over here? Western is German word for empathetic understanding, putting yourself in another person's shoes to view or to understand the world through their eyes. Okay, reality is not an independent physical object, it is built through our thoughts, language, and shared cultural meanings. Now, with this regard to like Worstin, I want to give you an example. Like, if you see someone who is crying at a wedding, versus crying at the funeral. The physical tears look identical. However, the meaning behind them the meaning behind them is completely different. Wisdom allows you to understand the specific context of those tears. So students, in this we will going to understand the role of a researcher over here. So as a researcher, you cannot stand far away like a scientist in a lab coat. You must interact directly with the people to understand the unique life experiences, because here we are dealing with the society and human being, and we are trying to understand their behavior. So for us, for social sciences student, for sociology students, society is only the lab, and human beings on which we are doing a research. So we are dealing with the human beings, so we cannot keep ourselves far away from society and the people. So to give a clear idea about this, I'm giving you an example. Like, instead of just sending an anonymous online multiple choices survey about job stress, an interpretative researcher sits down with employees in a break room over coffee to listen to their daily struggle firsthand. So this is somewhere we're going to give an interpretative researcher a detailed knowledge and detailed idea about that how these employees are going with the job stress. So interpretative researcher or approach is going to help a lot to get a detailed idea or detailed information about them. Now in this slides we will going to see the some important aspect of interpretative approach, where interpretative approach or the researcher is based on naturalistic approach of data collection, that everything the researcher is collecting the data which is totally a natural setting, such as where a researcher is meeting with the client or the respondent and collecting the data with the help of interviews and observation. Here, secondary data research is also popular with the interpretative philosophy. In these types of studies, meanings emerge usually towards the end of the research process. Okay, so the interpretatives collect the data naturally through the direct conversation and observation of the people. So in this slide, we are trying to understand what is hermeneutics, what is phenomenology, and what is symbolic interactionism. So hermeneutics, if I want to explain you in one line, is nothing but it is studying a text and languages deep in context. Phenomenology is nothing but studying what living through an event directly feels like to a person. And if I want to explain the symbolic interactionism, is nothing but studying how shared symbols guides our behavior. So in general, the interpretative approach is based on the following beliefs. The first is relativist ontology. Relativist ontology means reality depends on individual viewpoints. Then second, we are having a subjectivist epistemology, means you cannot completely separate the researcher's presence from the person's being studies. I'll give you an example here, that consider a red rose. To one person, it symbolizes a romantic proposal to another, an apology to a third, a seasonal decoration. The meaning of the symbol changes depending on who holds it. Now let's see the advantages and disadvantages of interpretative approach. The first we will see the disadvantages, as interpretative approach looks biased in its nature, because the researcher's personal values or views can color the findings. Okay, and also you cannot assume that only 10 interview people speak for the entire world. So here, if you are taking interpretative approach, you need a the sample size should be more in number, because 10 people's interview cannot speak the entire world. Okay, then we are having a positive side of interpreted approach, that is advantage we can see, that is high depth and validity. You get a rich, deeply honest and authentic responses about complex topics like ethics, culture, leadership, dynamics, which cannot be measurable. Yes, so for that reason, it is one of the most important advantages for the interpretative approach. And for this, I can give you an example, such as a massive numerical survey tells a company that like 40% of workers wants to quit, but an interpretative approach here will help the company to uncover the exact toxic behavior from the management that push those employees to walk out of their jobs. Okay, so here interpretative approach can give you a detailed idea about anything, which helps you to make the policies or to think about how to solve the issues. So interpretivism reminds us that social research counting behavior is not enough. We must or we need to understand the behavior, and this uh, understanding of behavior is playing a very important role to make or to bring any kind of the changes in the society. So here we finish with our interpretative approach, which is helping us to bring out the detailed information about anything. So thank you so much, student. We'll continue with the another approach in our next lecture, next presentation. Thank you.